Hi, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Malice in the Mitten. I am your host, Tracy Preston, along with my bestie, Christine Mulligan. Hey, Christine.
Hey, Trace. Hey, everybody. All right, Tracy. What malice we getting into today now?
Well, this one is brutal, and I mean brutal. And I would like to not talk about this, but we have to, because these sick bastards are out there, and we have to raise awareness. So let me throw this out there right now. This story could certainly be triggering. So here's the trigger warning. This story talks about assault and murder of children.
Trace, I hate this.
I know. I always put pucker when I know I have to do a story like this because I'm like, oh, she hates it. I hate it as well.
Oh, God. Okay, here we go.
Now, this story contains multiple levels of malice. It's a story of murder and also wrongful imprisonment that wrecked the life of a man that was only trying to help. It is the story of multiple lives ruined by the malice of one sick man. Now, today's story was researched and written by Rebecca Hires, so thank you, Rebecca. Let's get into it. This is Season 7, Episode 1, Daniel Furlong. Daniel Furlong was a father of 3, a girls' Little League softball umpire, a husband, a good father, a grandfather. Neighbors thought he was a good person, but a bit weird. He was quirky. He was prone to telling outrageous lies from time to time. He was convicted of one killing and is a suspect in another. He was also willing to let someone go to jail for his crime until he got caught committing another. In November of 2007, an 11-year-old Jody Christine Perrick was on her way home from a friend's house. As the weather was abnormally warm for that time of year in Michigan, she had ridden her bike there earlier in the day. A 5th grade student at Constantine's Riverside Elementary School, she had long blonde hair, blue eyes, and was described as friendly and outgoing. If someone was alone on the playground, she would go and try to be their friend. On the night of November 8th, the happy, outgoing, joyful little girl never made it home. A search was started, and many of the town's 2,000 residents came from all over to help look for this little girl. One of the searchers was 40-year-old Raymond McCann. Raymond was a reserve police officer with the Constantine Police Department, and his son was a friend of Jody's. No matter how or where they searched, they could not find the little girl. Then, Raymond uttered the words that would change his life and let a killer roam free for almost 8 years. Quote, "Did anybody search the cemetery?" Realizing that nobody had, Jody's mother, Valerie, headed towards the cemetery, Raymond close behind her. As she pulled into the cemetery, she saw in the darkness, illuminated in her headlights, her daughter's bike. And behind it, propped against a tombstone, her daughter's body. Jody had been raped, tortured, and then suffocated to death. She had marks on her wrists as if she had been handcuffed. Running from the car, Valerie fell to the ground and cradled her daughter one last time. Raymond gently pulled her from her daughter's body and led her away. Because he had been the one to suggest searching the cemetery, was there when she was found, and the apparent handcuff marks on her wrist, police began to focus on him. For over 24 times in the next 5 years, Constantine Police and the Michigan State Police would lie to him in interrogations and to Jody's family, anything to get him to confess. They told him that they found his DNA on her body. They told him that Jody's DNA was found in his truck. He insisted the DNA transfer was from pulling Valerie off her daughter at the cemetery. They told him that the story he told of the cemetery, quote, just occurring to him, was an attempt to hide his guilt. In an attempt to turn family and friends against him, to pressure him to confess, they even told his son that he was a drug addict. Some police believe that Raymond's son had murdered the little girl, and Raymond was covering for him. But Raymond stood fast in his story that he was innocent. As the case grew cold, one cop even told one of his family members he wanted Raymond in jail so that the pressure would increase and that he would finally confess. The police were relentless. They knew Raymond was guilty. The county prosecutor was eventually convinced to subpoena Raymond to court and testify about his whereabouts the night Jody disappeared. Years had passed. Memories had changed. What Raymond said about that night blurred against what witnesses remembered. There were discrepancies. One major point of discrepancy was that Raymond had said he had gone to a local hangout for kids, the Trumbull Dam, to search. He said he was told to meet another officer there. He said when he arrived there, the other officer wasn't there, and he received a phone call telling him to go search elsewhere. So he left. Police testified there was video evidence showing he had never been there. In 2014, he was charged with 5 counts of perjury during a murder investigation, each which carried a life sentence. Having already spent 11 months in jail at this time, fearing police did have some sort of video, the inability to be believed and not wanting 5 life sentences, he pled guilty to perjury and received a 20-year sentence in 2015. But he never wavered on his assertion that he was innocent of the murder. Over the years, he would state over 86 times that he had nothing to do with the murder. His story never changed. White Pigeon, Michigan is roughly 7 minutes driving distance from Constantine. Both are small towns near the Michigan-Indiana border. 10-year-old Mackenzie Stafford lived in White Pigeon in August of 2015. While riding her bike through her neighborhood of Colonial Estates, a man asked her for some help in his garage. As she entered the garage, the man held her against his Camaro with a knife at her throat and his hand over her mouth, and he told her,
"Shut up or I'll kill you."
As the man set his knife down to grab extension cords to bind her wrists, the girl twisted away and ran for her life. The man was Daniel Furlong. Mackenzie's mother came out of their house to see her daughter running toward her, screaming, "Help! Somebody help!" Running towards her daughter, her mother saw red marks on her throat. Gathering her daughter, she called the police. Police found knife marks on her stomach and scratches on her shoulder in addition to the marks on her neck. Later, when police interviewed other little girls in the neighborhood, they said Daniel often sat on a white upturned bucket and watched them as they moved through the neighborhood. He would also offer to take them places alone. Fortunately, none of the girls took him up on that offer. Interviews with Mackenzie took them straight to Daniel's house. Search warrants were obtained and carried out. In his home, police found, get this, a kill list with the names of little girls in the neighborhood he wanted to kill. He would later confess to police that he had intended to kill Mackenzie that night. DNA was taken, and it matched that found at the crime scene of Jody Perrick. They found zip ties, extension cords, and knives. Confronted with the evidence, Furlong confessed. They had finally found their killer. He stated on that night in November he had lived just down the road from Jody and Constantine. Seeing her ride by, he asked her for help in his garage, Same MO, that son of a bitch. What he did to her is unspeakable. But that night ended with her body in the cemetery and, eventually, an innocent man in jail. But the police weren't done with Raymond yet. After having invested so many man-hours in tunnel vision and pursuit of him, they were not about to admit they were wrong. They visited Raymond in prison to try to get him to admit that he knew Daniel and that they worked together to murder Jody. Daniel and Raymond both denied knowing each other, but both had coached softball, and it was a small town. So police were convinced that they had a passing familiarity with each other. The Michigan Innocence Clinic would take the case and prove that the police had lied at the hearing in 2014. They established that it was too dark at the time that Raymond had said he was at the dam to determine the color or make of any vehicle that had been there, and that the cameras were not even pointed in the area where Raymond had said he had been. The police lied under oath, period. Released from prison in 2015, his record cleared, Raymond sued Michigan State Police cold case detective Sergeant Brian Fuller in 2023. After hearing evidence, a jury awarded $14.5 million. The city of Constantine, which vilified him for years, believing in his guilt, made a public statement that he is welcome. Nice. He is welcome to move back. Well, as you could imagine, he declined that offer. Daniel Furlong had not just taken the life of Jody Perrick. He also, in essence, took the life of Raymond McCann. Raymond lost his job. He lost his home, his friends. His wife divorced him, and his son cut contact with him. All things he will never get back, no matter how much money the state gave him. Daniel Furlong was sentenced to 20 to 60 years for the murder of Jody and attempted murder of Mackenzie. Quote, Dan Furlong took down a young girl, and a young girl took down Dan Furlong, said Constantine Police Chief Mark Honeysett. Furlong was 65 at the time of his arrest, so it will basically be a life sentence. But his story is not over yet. Taking a plea deal, Furlong agreed to admit to the murder and be granted immunity for any other cases that he may eventually be linked to. One of those cases is that of 6-year-old Brittany Beers. Sturgis, Michigan is a town about a 20-minute car ride west of Constantine. On September 16th, 1997, 6-year-old Brittany Beers, another blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girl, was outside her apartment complex riding her bike. Brittany lived with her mother, Tina, uncle, and 2 siblings at the Village Manor Apartments in Sturgis. The apartments were located just off US 12, a major road through Sturgis. Her mother left the apartment about 8:30 on the night of September 16th to run some errands. Now that right there gets my blood pressure pumping. At the time she left, Brittany was riding her bike around the complex and was alone. Planning on only being gone for a few minutes, she assumed Brittany would be okay. About 5 minutes after Brittany's mother left, a neighbor went to run some errands and saw Brittany sitting on a bench, talking to a man in a red or brown car. Brittany approached the neighbor and told her she, quote, had made a new friend. Brittany's mother returned home about 9:05 p.m. and sent Brittany's brother to fetch her. But the thing was, Brittany was nowhere to be found. She was reported missing around 10:30 p.m. that night. A bloodhound traced her scent to a parking lot of a convenience store, often used by long-haul truckers to park. It was thought perhaps a trucker grabbed her as she rode past. Suspicion eventually fell on the family when searchers found no trace of the girl. Rumors of abuse in all forms in the home were rampant. Tina would eventually lose custody of her remaining children due to the abuse found and her unwillingness to leave her man. The father of her half-brother, Kevin Folsom, ended up in prison for molesting Brittany when she was only 3. It was not a good home life for this little girl. While looking at the family, police also put out a description of the man the neighbor had seen talking to Brittany and his car. There were no real leads until the year 2000. At that time, a man had been arrested in Detroit with over 2,000 photos of child porn on his computer. One of those children looked a lot like Brittany. It turned out not to be her, but another young girl from Texas. The case went cold until the arrest of Daniel Furlong. Daniel closely resembles the description of the man in the car seen talking to Brittany. He also had relatives living in Sturgis at the time of her disappearance, and it is believed he was in the area when she went missing. His wife worked at a concession stand at the Speedway racetrack located there. He spent time there with his wife, and it is believed that he knew Brittany's grandfather from this connection. Brittany's grandfather often went to the Speedway to watch the races. Brittany was described as the sort of child that wouldn't talk to someone she didn't know, had she met him through her grandfather. Given a polygraph, Daniel vocally denied having anything to do with her disappearance, but his body language said otherwise to police. They have no proof that he did have anything to do with it, but 3 girls on bikes, 2 blonde, 2 missing, all young, all have ties to one man. No charges have ever been filed against him in her disappearance, and she is still listed as endangered missing. At the time of her disappearance, Brittany was wearing a white t-shirt with a floral design, pink tie-dye shorts, and white sneakers with a pink design on the side. Her shoelaces had a red line going down the middle. She was missing her 4 upper baby teeth at the time of her disappearance and often wore her hair in a ponytail. If you or anyone out there has any information on the location or disappearance of Brittany, please contact the Sturgis Police Department at 269-651-3231. I'm going to repeat that again. Please contact the Sturgis Police Department at 269-651-3231.
Even if they find out that he did it, he already has immunity from his deal that he made, right?
Yeah.
So it's not even like he can be tagged with any additional time.
Right. But why not just confess? I mean, what kind of a grown man has a kill list of children?
Yeah, that's just disturbing and disgusting. And to top it off, this guy had 3 kids of his own, right? Isn't that what you said at the top of the story?
He sure did, and he was grandfather. But
yeah, while you were talking and I was staying quiet, I was thinking to myself, this is very reminiscent of that other dirtbag that had the adopted daughter that ended up, running away, but then the kid didn't actually run away. It was buried in that backyard this whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And you know who else it reminds me of is BT, Bind, Torture, Kill, BTK. He was a pastor. He had a shitload of kids. He was a pillar in the community. He was killing people left and right horribly. And one of the women that he killed, right, because he would pose as like a telephone guy, like, oh, I got to fix your line, something's wrong with your phone. He even killed that woman, beat her, raped her, murdered her after he locked her children in the bathroom. Sick men out there, I'm telling you.
Yeah, but the twisted thing about it all is that there are more than one of these same type of animal out there roaming around. Mm-hmm. And that's ultimately why I don't mind talking about all this crap with you, Bestie, because we got to know that these people exist, because we have to be more vigilant. And I think nowadays we are. we are like, this kind of crap doesn't happen. But unfortunately, that meant that a lot of kids don't ride their bikes out in the street in the wild like they used to. Kids can't explore the way they used to explore back in the day because there's predators like these bastards out there.
Absolutely. And here's something that's very frightening. So like I mentioned, there is no safe place. So I hope people hear what I'm saying. I don't care if you live in the richest neighborhood. You don't know who's living in those houses. You do not know what those people are capable of. And my neighbor, who's always keeping me in the loop, we've got 3 missing kids right now from the Charlotte area, Lansing area, might be a couple from Lansing, maybe Owasso, right now. So I remind my 13-year-old daughter, this is why mommy needs to know where you are at all times. Answer the damn phone when I call you. Let me know when you leave point A to go to point B, and always stick with your friends. Right now, this is happening. Oh,
yeah, bananas.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and now the rest of all of our listeners know that your daughter's going to have stories to tell about her mom being such a fanatic because you spend your time delving into horrible stories like this. You're probably extra.
Hell yeah, I'm extra. I don't care. Yeah, talk about your crazy neurotic mother. You're gonna live.
Yeah, but you're gonna be safe. Yeah.
I used to tell my oldest, Lauren, when she was little, I mean, thank the gods that Lauren was not one of those kids that would because your son used to do it. I don't remember which one, but he used to hide in the circular clothes racks. Didn't you tell me he did that?
Yeah, my middle guy, he was the only one that would stray from the duck line. I always had my ducks in a row. My kids would be marching right behind me, and I'm a fast walker, so my kids were always looking like little ducks because they were like running with their little legs.
Stepping it.
With my walking. But anytime we were shopping, and if I stopped to look at things, that's it. If there was a round thing of clothes, he just loved to get in the middle of those and then just wait until I lost my crap in public.
Yeah.
And when I'd be screaming his name and everyone in the store would be looking at me and and then all of a sudden I hear a little giggle. He'd be in a clothes rack just giggling. He just thought it was the funnest thing. And I wanted to break his legs every time he did it.
Well,
it was full-on panic.
Yeah, I know that feeling. It's horrible. And I used to tell Lauren all the time, and I didn't care if I scared her. That was the freaking point. Someone will take you from me. You'll never see me again, and things could happen that you don't even want to think about. I used to tell her that all the time. You'll never see your mother again.
That famous line, in a blink of an eye, you can be stolen. In a blink of an eye. You see how fast that is?
Yeah. Blink, 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 blink. See?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to do what it takes to protect your children and keep an eye on, I remember we had a discussion sometime last year where I was like, I always look out my windows when I'm passing by, and if I see a little kid riding a bike, I just kind of pause for a minute. I'm like, okay, because I don't see a parent close by. And I'll look down the road and I'm like, please tell me there's a parent somewhere near. And I'll keep an eye on the kids. I want to make sure they're safe. And then sooner or later, there comes the parent. I'm like, man, you're way too far behind. You're way too far behind. But, there's an older fella that I play, one of my shooter games on in my Oculus. He actually witnessed and kept an eye on a little girl in a grocery store because he's like, Tracy, some man was eyeballing her the way you shouldn't be looking at a child. And he made sure he followed closely behind just to make sure that little girl did not get snatched. So, good on you, Pepper. Keep it up.
I know. And since we're talking about this, and it's very easy to, kind of jest about the overprotection of moms and all that. But on the same token, when this does happen to children, it's not the fault of the parents that they didn't pay attention. Yeah. It's because we have animal predators out there like this.
Yeah.
Like these men that we just talked about. So at the same token, I just want to put that out there because it sounds like, on one hand, we're like, oh, you got to watch your kids. It's your fault if this happens to your kids. But
no, I would never say that.
That's not what's intended at all.
No, never.
We can laugh about being over neurotic moms, but at the same time, the children that do go missing, their moms are probably just as neurotic. Right. It's just, fortunately, it happened to them. And this is why we all, as a community, it takes a village in a lot of ways. As a community, we have to be more vigilant about this kind of crap.
Yeah.
And That's why I reluctantly appease all these stories of malice from you, because it really is important to know about all the evils so we can try and thwart them.
Yep. Keep your head on a swivel, right?
Yeah.
I even remember seeing a video, and this was so brazen. I couldn't even believe it. There was a woman in a store with her little girl. The mom was somewhere, not directly like right at the side of the daughter. And it was the video surveillance in the store that caught this. There's a guy just walking by the store looking in the windows, and he turned his head and saw this little girl, stopped on a dime, turned on a dime, opened up the door, and tried to pull her out of the store. That is insane. What? Yes. Yeah, he didn't get away with it. But
well, that's good.
Yeah, but still, I mean, think about that. I mean, you're that fucking demented that you would do that? Like, just, oh, there's a kid. Grab. What?
Pretty brazen.
Unreal. Anyway, so if you guys are enjoying our stories of Michigan Malice, please hit that like button and share and subscribe and tell your friends all about us. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day or night or in the middle of your night to listen to us. So thank you all so much. We appreciate you. Keep coming back. We've got lots to talk about. So have a great week, everyone. And we will see you guys back on Wednesday for Round Robin.
Bye.
Bye.